Tube Challenge can be described as a very simple objective: visit all the London Underground stations in the quickest time possible. This record officially started to be tracked in 1960, with the latest record breaker achieving an impressive time of 15 hours 45 minutes in 2015. You don't necessarily have to visit the entire length of every line, but as long as you pass through every station, it counts. No one has broken the record since Steve Wilson and AJ in 2015, but is this even the record? In 1967, Leslie Burwood got a time of 14 hours 33 minutes. This record is a bit more complicated than you might originally think, and during this video I'll try to answer an important question. Is it even possible to break this record anymore? 1960 was when the first recorded attempt took place, and the Underground network was already pretty much as extensive as it is now. It was George Hurst and Jane Berwick who achieved the record of 18 hours 35 minutes in March of that year. They didn't have the record for long though, as in December of that year, K.A. and Jay Branch beat the record with 20 hours and 0 minutes. 20 hours? How does that make any sense? Well, this is where breaking the record becomes a little less simple. The Underground is never finished, and as a result, stations open and stations close. George and Jane's time of 18 hours 30 minutes was how long it took them to visit 264 stations, but the Branch's time of 20 hours 0 minutes was how long it took them to visit 273 stations. Criteria also changed. In the 60s there were many very impressive times set, and that's because private transport like taxis were allowed. This is not the case now, and as a result times are longer because you have to run or wait for a bus. There are also other factors that mean you have to be very lucky to even get close to breaking the record. First of all, you are sticking to a very tight schedule. If a train is delayed by a matter of minutes, you might as well just give up there. It is also extremely unlikely that you'll go through a whole day without a red signal, a signal failure, or a missed train. You even have to go to the extent of making sure you get on the right carriage of the train to be at the door closest to the exit when you get off. In the current era, there is another big problem that people trying to go for the record have to get around. That problem is strikes. It feels like strikes are happening every week at this point, and that's because they basically are. Now, don't get me wrong, I completely understand why they are striking, but when it comes to trying to break this record, the frequency of strikes obviously isn't going to help too much. Sadly, the records have only ever been printed in the book twice, and the most recent time was 2015, so if you have any hope of getting in the book, it's very unlikely, but the records still get published online, so it's not all that bad. It would be wrong for me to do an entire video on this and not do a small piece on one of the record holders. This person held the record twice, once in 2004 and once in 2013, and I am of course talking about Jeff Marshall, who also has a YouTube channel with over 300,000 subscribers. He takes transport challenges to a whole other level though, as in 2017 he visited all 2,500 stations in Britain and continues to visit new ones as they open. It's quite impressive to break the same record multiple times, but how could you even try breaking it once when you don't know the route? Well, you're in luck. First of all, it's probably a good idea to aim to complete the task within one day. This is because doing it across 2 days is more expensive, and if you live outside London, obviously it's much more hassle to come down for 2 days than it is just for one. Of all 272 London Underground stations, you can start at any number of them, but for this route in particular, we're going to start all the way out in Zone 9 at Chesham. It is an early start of course. You want to be on the first train leaving Chesham at 5:16 AM. The route begins by heading from there to Chalfont and Latimer to change to a westbound train to Amersham. Bear in mind there will be a fair amount of going back on yourself, but in some cases it's the most efficient way. The next step is to take a train to Moor Park, then head to Watford and back down to North Harrow. This is where the first of many runs is due. You'll need to cover the 0.7 mile distance between North Harrow and Brainers Lane in the shortest time possible before getting back on the tube on the Piccadilly line. After going 7 stops down to Ealing Common, you'll change onto the District line and travel 1 stop to Ealing Broadway, followed by a change to the Central line where you'll ride from there to White City, where you'll get off the train and get on a different one that takes you up to West Ruislip. That should have given you enough resting time for the next run, which is 0.7 miles from West Ruislip to Ickenham, where you'll take the Metropolitan line to Uxbridge, then back down to Preston Road, then back up to Northwick Park. The third run is 0.3 miles from there to Kenton to catch a Bakerloo line service up to Harrow and Wealdstone, then another all the way down to Elephant and Castle. At Elephant and Castle, you want to change to the Northern line up to London Bridge, then the Jubilee line westbound to Southwark, then eastbound to West Ham. At West Ham, change to the District line and stay on it till you reach the end of the line at Upminster, where you'll go all the way back down to Tower Hill. Tower Hill is where you'll change to the Circle line to head to Aldgate, then back down to Sloane Square, then back again to Victoria. At Victoria, change to the Victoria line and take it to Brixton, where you'll head 1 stop back up to Stockwell to change to the Northern line and head 2 stops to Kennington, where you'll change to go to Battersea Power Station, where you'll change yet again back to Kennington, where you may need to change again to take a southbound service down to Morden. After that long time on the train, you might fancy a run, which is convenient because you'll need to run the 1.6 mile distance between Morden and Wimbledon to take a District line train up to Kensington, where you'll run again 0.9 miles from there to Shepherd's Bush on the Central line all the way up to Woodford via via Hainault, where you'll change to a northbound service up to Epping, then back down again to Snaresbrook before a 2.2 mile run from there to Walthamstow at the end of the Victoria line. On the Victoria line, you can rest easy till you reach Warren Street, where you'll change to the Northern line 1 stop south to Goode Street before heading back up all the way to Edgware, where you'll have to do another 1 mile run to Cannons Park on the Jubilee line. Head 1 stop north to Stanmore, then 14 stops south to Baker Street, so you can change to the Circle line to Moorgate, then back up the Northern line to Finchley Central, Mill Hill East, and then High Barnet, where you'll run 2.3 miles to the end of the Piccadilly line at Cockfosters. Take this line down to South Kensington, change to the Circle line and stay on it till you reach Edgware Road, then head down to Hammersmith, where you'll go back on the District line to West Kensington, down to Richmond, back up to Turnham Green, where you'll change lines for the final time before heading down to Terminal 2 and 3 via Terminal 4, then finally going to Terminal 5 to complete this monumental task. So, as I've made clear, this challenge certainly isn't easy, but if it hasn't put you off, then maybe we could see your name in the record books sometime soon.